Hello, everyone, and welcome to IBTM Meets, a series of interviews with leading figures and experts in the industry. My name is Laura Jensen, the IBTM Content and Community Executive, and I'm delighted to be joined by Sumathi Ramanathan, the Vice President of Marketing Strategy and Sales at Expo 2020 Dubai. She's joining us today on Global Exhibitions Day to talk about the organising of a large-scale exhibition, Expo 2020 Dubai, and the effects that the pandemic has had on exhibitions in general. Hi, Sumathi. It's great to have you here today. Thank you for joining me.
Pleasure, Laura, and IBTM Meets. Thank you for having us.
So, why don't we start off then a little bit about you? So, what do you personally enjoy most about working on an international exhibition? What have you enjoyed getting back to as events have been opening up?
I think the industry has seen possibly what we can say the most challenging time of our era in terms of travel and tourism. I don't think there has been a greater, pandemic that has actually brought the industry to a standstill. And organizing such a large exhibition at this time, what I've really found is the hope and optimism that the industry has actually been thriving on, and the resilience that the industry has been exhibiting has been stellar and exemplary. And the ability to work with such a group of resilient, optimistic and hopeful people has been one of the biggest, I think, both encouragement, but also a great example for me personally.
Brilliant. And so, of course, you're working on Expo 2020 Dubai, and that must be really exciting to get back to that, of course, a year later than planned. But can you tell us a bit about the main themes that you'll be covering at the event and how how you sort of chose those and how they're reflected in the industry?
So the main theme of Expo 2020, the overarching theme is connecting minds, creating the future. And every World Expo, the content is curated around a theme, and the theme has to be relevant to the city and the host nation that is hosting the event. Many people may not know that Dubai and the UAE has always been a center point where different civilizations has crossroads during the Silk and Spice route. So through the fishing and the pearl diving industry, Dubai has seen, Indian merchants, Venetian traders, Persian scholars, and Arab business people come through its port, its city, and shores. So it's always been a place where people have connected, and they've largely connected to create a better future. And today you can witness it with more than 180 nationalities. In fact, there are 200 nationalities living, thriving, working in Dubai. But more importantly, the millions of visitors who are coming through, who experience it. Dubai is the fourth most visited city in the world, and through the flight of Emirates, it's one of the major transit and visitation hub. So it is always in its DNA and its fabric has been a place which has connected minds, but more importantly, it's been a place where people have come together to create a better future. So that is the overarching theme of Expo 2020 Dubai, which I said really goes back to the essence of what Dubai and the UAE as a nation is all about. Now, underneath that sub-theme, we are focusing, the participants and ourselves are focusing on three key sub-themes. The first one is opportunity, and the opportunity pertains to the global goals, or what is, I think, more popularly known as the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or the SGD. So countries that are coming will be showcasing solutions and progress that they have made in some really key topics like gender equality, eradication of poverty, better education, a better planet, climate change. All of these subjects will be explored, and you can imagine that the world will be showcasing the progress they've made in these pertinent topics. A second one, which I think is extremely relevant to today's world, is mobility. So mobility is about the movement of people, the movement of ideas, and the movement of goods. And Laura, I think one of the key things that we have learned in the past year is how important is it for movement, and how movement has been restricted. But at the same time, we have been liberated by digital and technology. I mean, everybody now is delivering their food, their groceries, they are delivering whatever they want. And companies that has never been online is now online. So the acceleration of mobility has actually taken place very quickly. Also, aeroplanes, aircraft, aviation industry, transport industry, logistics industry have also come up with ways of ensuring the movement of goods are happening in a timely manner. The distribution and dispersion of vaccination, for example, is something that mobility covers. So all of these key topics, including Internet of Things, space exploration, the future of aviation, the future of automotive, is being covered by the mobility theme. And last but not least, sustainability, which is an evergreen and ever important topic for us, is being explored. So countries are coming to showcase solutions in how we can build better cities. How do we tackle the issue of water? How do we look at sustainable solutions in the biomedical field, for example? So all the sub-themes are themes that are important, are relevant, and are the topics that is going to keep a lot of us awake at night as we try and find solutions for a better world moving forward.
Absolutely, and that all sounds fascinating. I think definitely from my perspective on IBTM, we've seen a lot of those key themes come up in conversation over the past year as well. So it's definitely connected to the industry as a whole, and all of the different factors, like you say, that are keeping us up at night. And you mentioned mobility, and obviously a big part of Expo 2020 Dubai is that you're getting people to attend in person, of course. And how is that? How have you maybe adapted your strategy from that to accommodate travel restrictions and health and safety aspects?
I think one of the most interesting things, and our observation from talking to the international travel industry across the board, is Dubai as a city has been open since last July. We have been welcoming international visitors for just under a year now, and the UAE is making excellent progress with about 10 million vaccination distributed. So essentially, the country is ready and has been prepared and welcoming visitors for more than a year. Our biggest focus right now is working with the international travel industry to see how can we be ready, be prepared, and be flexible, and more importantly, be agile when markets start opening up. And I think, Laura, what is giving us confidence is a number of things. First of all, the rate of vaccination across the board, the number of countries who are now starting to take a lot of initiatives to enable international travel. So we recently have just been participating in one of the biggest travel events, and I met personally with buyers who've flown in from Italy, from the Nordics, talking to a gentleman who came in from Prague. We met with trade from Russia. So the travel industry traveling first is a great, I think, milestone, because when the travel industry is able to travel, the guests and their clients will soon start traveling. So we are very optimistic. Whilst the international outlook is still fluid and dynamic, we are seeing a number of progressive signs and green shoots coming up in the travel industry. So we are maintaining our visitor projection of 25 million visits over the 6-month period. But I think perhaps more importantly, this expo is half year long. So everyone is looking at the start date of the 1st of October, but a lot of people are possibly not paying attention to the fact that it's next March, which is nearly another 9 months to go. We have made tremendous progress in the past 1 year in terms of vaccination and the ability to travel, and we are confident with the next 9 months we'll see more of growth coming in that area.
Absolutely. And yeah, you make a very good point. Of course, next March, it will be 2 years on from the start of the pandemic. Who knows where we'll be by that point, and hopefully in a very positive position. So, of course, obviously travel and health and safety is a very key consideration that you have for any large scale event. But are there any other considerations that you've had to take into account when planning Expo 2020 with regards to the fact that it's a global enormous exhibition, looking at the floor plan?
So one of the things that we have actually done is the 1 year, a lot of people think it's actually a 1 year break from Expo, but I think we have been full scale, pulling all-nighters in terms of working with the participants. We have more than 190 countries participating in this World Expo, but we also have a whole range of other participants, including United Nations. We have a very unique pavilion, which is called the Women's Pavilion. We are collaborating with Cartier, the French jewelry brand, to be able to bring women's issues, empowerment and progress to the forefront. We have got a specific pavilion that looks at academia and universities. So we've got quite a wide variety of content. But what we have actually done is to sit down with the participants to take a look at making sure that the content today is relevant and it is trying to address some of the key issues that we are facing in today's world. As we spoke about the themes earlier, it's actually a great question and an important sort of segue into this question. We are bringing, for example, health and wellness to the forefront. We have a specific week that is going to take a look at some of the solutions, but not only solutions, but how does the global world cooperate? What is the International Cooperation Forum going to be? How are we going to tackle if there is going to be another pandemic, for example? So the ability to sharpen the content and to shape it to ensure that it is relevant and it's helping us to tackle some of the issues has been absolutely fantastic. From an operations and logistics perspective, we have spent a lot of time taking a look at the visitor experience on site and make sure that we are able to deliver a safe and a responsible expo for the visitors who are coming in. So we are taking a look at the social distancing. We are making sure that thermal cameras at arrival points are available to check temperatures. We are making sure that all the venues and common areas are regularly clean and sanitized. So where there are, for example, touch screens, how can we make them gesture-based, for example, so there's less touch points available? How do we look at managing queues when people actually come onto the expo site? So from an operations perspective and a health and safety perspective, we've put quite a lot of time in terms of thinking of all of this. But more importantly, any exhibition, as you know, Laura, the success of it is dependent not only on making sure that the visitors or the buyers, as we would call it in the exhibition world, are well taken care of and they've got a safe experience, but the participants who are coming, or the suppliers, as we would say in our exhibition industry term, also have got the right environment. So we have offered a vaccination program for the expo staff and their households. We have also vaccinated our entire workforce, and the UAE government has offered free vaccination for the delegates and representatives of the countries and the participants over a 6-month period to ensure that everybody who is part of Expo, regardless of whether you're an Expo direct staff force or you're a representative coming in, you have the opportunity and the ability to work in a safe environment. So we've spent the past year really making sure that we're tightening up that area. So when the expo actually opens, we're focused on delivering the best visitor experience and value for money, and that our house is in good order.
Of course, yes. When you welcome someone into your home, you want to make sure it's a good experience for them. And one of the things that I picked up on just then was the touchscreens turning into gesture-based engagement. That sounds really interesting. What sort of event technology have you explored in the organization of the event? Are you with technology developing so quickly, are there any new things that you've maybe found over the past year that you're now implementing?
The interesting thing is, I think everyone is talking about technology. I think the commitment to technology has actually become broader due to the COVID pandemic. But however, Expo, since its inception, has been committed to harnessing cutting-edge technology to provide visitors with an enriched experience, both on-site and wherever they may be in the world. We work with a range of really strong technology partners, including SAP, Cisco and Siemens, to implement technology on site. So for example, we have got the largest deployment of Cisco Digital Vision outside of the US in the 4.38 square kilometer at the expo site. So what this enables us to do is really provide a guided experience for the visitors when they're on site. So I'll give you a simple example. You may be queuing in front of the Swedish pavilion, and there might be the Senegal pavilion next door, which has got some really interesting content, so that we can use the signage to say, the queue time at the Swedish pavilion is 20 minutes, but then the Senegal pavilion, which has got all of this, has got a queue time of 2 minutes. So do you you want to go to the Senegal pavilion and come back later to the Swedish pavilion? So technology will really enable us to ensure that we are optimizing the visitor experience on site. Another really interesting thing is the Expo 2020 app. So, apps are very common nowadays, and, a number of organizations use it for their business. But our ambition with this app is to enable the visitor to really curate a own personalized experience. When someone asks me what is going to be the biggest challenge for the visitor coming into Expo, I'm going to tell you it's really deciding what to see, because there's going to be so much going on site. More than 190 pavilions, up to 60 live events a day, music festivals, concerts, art shows, theater shows, ballet, opera, whatever you can think of, there will be something happening on site. We also have got 200 F&B offering. So, from your Japanese sushi to your Indian curry to your Thai pad Thai, or, you might want to try some nouveau cuisine, which with a drone waiter serving you food. There's going to be so much on site in terms of content. So how do we make this experience for a visitor easy, simple, and more importantly, enjoyable? So the app, this is where the app will come into play. So you can go onto the app and you can select the country pavilions you want to see, the shows that you want to be entertained with, the food experiences that you want to have, and the app will curate a specific itinerary for you. But more importantly, when you arrive on site, it will help you with the GPS and navigation to ensure that you're able to conquer that the site, which is 2 times the size of Monaco, with ease and very little complexity. So technology is possibly one of our best friends at Expo, because we are able to use it not only for safety reasons, but also very much in terms of providing a rich experience for visitors.
Absolutely. I mean, that all sounds fantastic. I mean, when you put it into the context of 2 times the size of Monaco, it really gives you a proper idea of the scale. And yeah, there's a lot of opportunities there. Absolutely. And with all of those opportunities and with everything that's coming together, all of the exhibitors, the countries, the experiences, what do you think, or what do you hope the legacy of Expo 2020 will be? What do you think people will remember most about it after the exhibition is finished?
Yeah, I mean, this Expo, Laura, was always going to be a very special Expo, because in its nearly 170 years of World Expo histories, a World Expo has never come to our doorsteps. So this is the first time that the event is actually being held in the Middle East, South Asia, and Africa region. And I think that itself makes it really special. It is also very special because it's the first mega event being held in the Arab region, and it's actually coinciding with the 50th Golden Jubilee of the UAE.
Wow.
So the UAE is only 50 years old, and it's already hosting a mega event welcoming more than 190 countries to its to its home. So all of these points make it really special. But I think what makes it that extra bit more significant is it's the first global gathering in the pandemic world. This is the first time the world will come together with visitors, with participants. And I believe the world has been waiting and holding out for this event for quite some time. I wanted to quote one of the one of the leaders in the travel industry that I was speaking to a while ago. And what he told me is, Sue, Expo is the beacon of hope for the exhibition and the travel industry. We have been going through so much in the past 18 months, and we cannot wait for Expo to open, because it will be the start of the world coming back to the sort of form that we knew, obviously with all the restrictions, regulations, and safety measures. But it is going to give the world the hope that, yes, we can meet, yes, we can be in person, yes, we can continue doing business. The world that we have known is not completely forgotten. So I think the inflection point at which this Expo is happening makes it an incredibly important one, not only for Dubai, the UAE, and the Arab region, but essentially for the entire world. And therefore, that's what I think the visitors will remember. But what's really important is the point that you touched on. What is the legacy it is going to leave? One of the big legacies that we are hoping is that with the world coming together, it will provide a platform for global and international cooperation. But also, more importantly, 6 months after the event closes on the 31st of March 2022, Expo 2020 will transform into District 2020.
Wow.
So District 2020 will be a human-centric smart city of the future, a mixed purpose hub for residences and businesses. And over 80% of Expo's physical infrastructure will be retained post-event, and the site will transform into District 2020. And it will collaborate and work very closely with a number of industries to become the heart of Dubai's growth corridor, which I think is going to be really, really important. It will bring together Fortune 500 enterprises, SMEs, entrepreneurs, academia, R&D accelerators, venture capital, incubators, providing them a platform to collaborate and to thrive. A really good example is actually we currently have a sustainability pavilion. Post-event time, it will become a children's science center.
How cool.
And one of the big attractions for Dubai. We have an incredible, never seen before architectural construction right in the heart of Expo 2020 site. So it is called Al Wasl Plaza. In 1889, Paris hosted the World Expo. And the Eiffel Tower was actually a legacy of the World Expo in Paris in 1889. So our Al Wasl Plaza will be the Eiffel Tower of this World Expo. So imagine a dome which has got dual projection screen, 17 stories high. It's taller than the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Gosh.
And 16 tennis court wide. And it will host the opening ceremony, closing ceremony, the national days of all the different countries that are participating every single day. And post-event time, it will become a major venue for concerts, events, exhibitions, and so on. So essentially, the legacy plan is probably one of the strongest legacy plans that I have had the chance to work on in my career. And I think it will really contribute to the reputation of Dubai, but also becoming a platform for international collaboration.
Absolutely. Well, that sounds fantastic. And I love the fact that the Expo 2020 venue will become this city, this smart city. I think it's wonderful to see. I know in the past, obviously, at things like Olympic stadiums have been abandoned post-event. So to see Expo 2020 being reused and being, retained is a fantastic thing. And of course, I suppose just quickly to touch on, if other event professionals are looking at Expo 2020 as that beacon of hope for their own exhibitions, obviously on, I would imagine, a much smaller scale. I don't think we could have an expo in one go. It might be a little bit smaller, but what sort of things would you recommend them to consider if they're looking to organize exhibitions of their own and they're looking to Dubai as that example, that first event?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big lessons that I have taken personally from this expo is whenever there is a crisis, and our industry, Laura, will go through different kinds of crisis. I mean, this is just one, and let's hope that there are no bigger crisis, but we need to be realistic about it. The most important lesson is the city that is hosting any event needs to come together. And I think that's what Dubai and the UAE has done very successfully. The health authorities working very closely with the tourism authorities, working very closely with the airports, working very closely with the airlines and the regulatory body means that everyone is coming together to ensure that the events industry is supported. That requires putting regulations in place, providing clear directive, ensuring that everyone is singing from the same hymn sheet is probably the most important thing that any destination can do to ensure that your events and exhibition industry thrives. Pulling together that task force at times of crisis and having strong leadership and vision behind it is going to be absolutely critical and crucial for success of the events and exhibition industry, regardless of how big or small the event is. So that's the big picture strategic thinking and leadership that is required. I think the second thing is to ensure then you've got a strong communications plan. You can do all of these amazing things and put in the guidance, direction, and you can provide incentives for the industries and so on. But if that is not communicated, consistently across the board, you will not get the messaging out. So having a really strong communications plan and ensuring that you're touching the different platforms, be it digital, print, online, social, and physical events is going to be super critical. Last but not least is making sure that you can deliver on the promises that you've met. So it may require some rethinking of investment. Where do we put the money in? How do we make the environment more safe? How do we ensure that our marketing is not only touching on the inspirational side of things, but it's also tackling some of the hygiene issues that are going to be really important for visitors. Safety, what are the protocols? What are the requirements that you have for us? So I think if you get the three pieces right, you actually will be in a really strong position.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for those insights. I'm sure they'll be really useful to anyone who's looking to organise their next exhibition. So, yeah, well, thank you for joining me, Sue, on Global Exhibitions Day. And if people are excited and inspired by Expo 2020 Dubai, the event will be opening, as you said, on the 1st of October, and will be running all the way to next year. So there's a lot of time for you to come and have a look at the event. So thank you so much again for joining me. It's been lovely to talk to you today.
Thank you, Laura. And I'll leave the audience with a video, a short 30-second that shows them what to expect at Expo 2020. And we really look forward to welcoming the world to our doorsteps from the 1st of October 2021 till the 31st of March 2022.
Brilliant.
Come for the greatest global gathering in history. Discover the world's most inventive ideas. Marvel at the world's most inspiring architecture. Experience the world's greatest entertainment. Take in inspirational art, sample exotic cuisines, and witness more than 190 countries and cultures come together in one place. Join the making of a new world